Chelsea, yes, our Chelsea, the team that has finished the previous two seasons at 12th and 6th place in the Premier League, have now got top four and have won the Conference League against Real Betis 4-1. Now, in the Club World Cup, Chelsea have made their second final in 2 months and play the fierce, undefeatable PSG. The question is, how can Chelsea beat the unbeatable? Allow me to discuss in this video. Cue the intro. What's going on YouTube? It is Repulse, back in another video. In today's video, we have how Chelsea can beat Paris Saint-Germain in the Club World Cup final. Yeah, it's an intriguing fixture. Obviously, PSG have been the best side in the world for pretty much the entire year now. Um, Obviously, you saw in the pre-intro that they haven't lost to Strasbourg or haven't lost since Strasbourg, who, funnily enough, is a Blue Coat club since March, I believe. So it's been pretty much 5 months or 4 months since they lost game. So yeah, PSG are pretty much the best side undoubtedly in Europe and one of probably the best teams in history if they keep going at this rate. Um, but yeah, Chelsea play them this Sunday in the Club World Cup final after PSG beat Real Madrid 4-0, which laid out the blueprint for what Chelsea not to do and how not to defend. And then Chelsea beat Fluminense 2-0 in a very convincing performance as well on their own account, where pretty much were in cruise control after the first goal the entire game. And then João Pedro made it 2-0, and Chelsea went on to the final. But easily could have won 4-0 the same way PSG won 4-0. But this video is dedicated to how Chelsea can beat PSG, so let's just jump straight into it. First, we need to talk about PSG and what they do. PSG haven't lost since May 3rd, as I just talked about earlier, against Strasbourg. Again, a Blue Coat club. Blue Coat club. Obviously Chelsea's sister club. With the Lucas Hernandez own goal. Lamarchal in the 48th minute of the first half, and then Barcola a minute after halftime. Oh, it was May 3rd, not March 3rd. Excuse me. So April, May, June. So 3 months since they've lost. So not as long as I thought. But yeah, PSG haven't lost since then. But how do they line up? You can see Luis Enrique loves his 4-3-3. He has his three attackers in Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, and Doué. His three midfielders in João Neves, Vitinha, and Fabian Ruiz, and then he has his back four of Nuno Mendes, Beraldo, Marquinhos, and Hakimi, and then his goalkeeper in Donnarumma. Yeah, this is the lineup they use against Real Madrid, so this is the lineup we have for reference. Yeah, it's a very intricate 4-3-3. A lot of tactical tweaks in there that we're going to talk about in this video. And see what Luis Enrique likes to do and see how Chelsea can actually counter that. So yeah, this is their lineup that they typically go with. I think this is their front three that they go with, and then you usually use your Barcola as a super sub. Obviously, Lucas Hernandez and William Pacho were both red carded in the game prior against Bayern Munich, so that's why Beraldo starts in that last game. Usually it's William Pacho, but a note for the final is that William Pacho and Lucas Hernandez are both out. They both were suspended 2 games, so they missed the semifinal and the final. So it seems like Beraldo and Marquinhos are set on being the two center halves in that final. And then obviously Nuno mentioned Hakimi play almost every game, as well as that midfield and attacking three, as well as their goalkeeper. The only one that's not in their main 11 is Beraldo, that's played against Real Madrid, and again that was due to red cards. So this is pretty much the lineup we're expected to see on Sunday, and I think everyone's geared up for that. So let's talk about PSG. Their front three obviously consists of Dembele, Doué, and Kvaratskhelia. They are all very versatile. They can play across the front three. They intermix, they interchange the entire game. Dembele's their front runner, the one that presses all the time. That PSG press is easily the best in Europe, and that's pretty much why they're the best team in Europe, because Dembele just doesn't stop running the whole game. He's easily the best presser in the world. Doué and Kvaratskhelia very good at creating their own shot, very good at creating for others. Kvaratskhelia on that left-hand side, cutting in on his right. Doué going down the byline, but also being able to finish with his left. An incredible talent, something that I did want at Chelsea. But yeah, this front three can play across the entire front three. Each and every one of them. Due can play false nine. Kvaratskhelia can play false nine. All three can play right wing. All three can play left wing. So they intermix a lot during the game to get the matchups they want. If they see someone that's tired and feel like they can take them on, they're gonna ask for a switch. They all switch. They all interchange, and that's the freedom that Luis Enrique gives them to pretty much make those overlapping runs, underlapping runs to intermix with each other to confuse the defense. The only one that I'd say really stays at their position throughout the entire game is Kvaratskhelia. He's predominantly on that. Everyone's predominantly in their own position, but I'd say Kvaratskhelia on that left is the only one that's pretty much nailed on to be on the left-hand side for most of the game. Dembele and Doué, you can just see switching at the every moment of the game. You can see them switching. Kvaratskhelia is predominantly just on that left, not switching too much, but still switches occasionally just to cause a defensive hassle. So yeah, that's their front three. Very dynamic, very clinical. Very good runners. Every single one of them has great pace. Easily going to be able to take on a defense. Any defense in the world they're going to be able to take on. And it causes havoc for the defense with the amount of speed they have on that front line and the amount they press. Um, yeah, it's a very scary sight when you see Dembele coming to press you. Um, I'm sure people have seen that clip of Dembele pressing, but yeah, that's how the front three operates. Pretty much an intermix of Dembele, Doué, and Kvaratskhelia. They can play anywhere. You could see Dembele line up on that left, Kvaratskhelia line up in the false nine, or Kvaratskhelia on the right with Doué in the false nine, Dembele on the left, or any combination you want is the combination that those three can give you. So that's pretty much why they run with it. So yeah, it's PSG's front three again, very clinical. Doué, Kvaratskhelia, great finishers. Dembele, pretty much his best season of his career. Pretty high up for the Ballon d'Or rankings, might win it. But very clinical this year. All three of them were very clinical this year. Doué and Kvaratskhelia obviously scored in the uh, Champions League final where they won 5-0. I can't recall if Dembele scored or not. I'm sure he did. They scored too many goals for anyone's liking. They won 5-0 in the Champions League final. So hopefully that's not a repeat of that on Sunday, which I don't think it will. I think Chelsea have uh, the profiles to intermix with them, and we know that PSG is one of the youngest projects in Europe. Pretty much what Chelsea are looking after in terms of a project. We want to essentially just become PSG in the future, which I think we can do with the profiles we have at the club. PSG is also very young, but they do have some experience mixed in there. But enough of that. This is our front three, which we've talked about multiple times, just intermixing. But it's likely going to be these three with Barcola coming off the bench. Onto their midfield. We have Vitinha, Neves, and Ruiz. As you can see, I put a triangle because Neves, right here, usually drops to this bottom. Vitinha usually plays here, and Fabiano Ruiz the most advanced. Vitinha and Neves are going to be your disruptors, but Vitinha is also going to be the one to spray out those passes. If you're a Chelsea fan watching this video, it's kind of like an Enzo Fernandez. What he does, he's able to play those intricate long passes to opposite sides of the field to get those counterattacks or just general attacks started. Very good at playing against the press. Pretty much one of the best midfielders in the world this season after signing from Wolves, which I don't think anyone anticipated. But yeah, one of the best midfielders in the world. But yeah, they pretty much form a box midfield. If not, it's a double pivot with one of them dropping into a back three, which I will talk about later in this video to show you how Chelsea can counter them. Um, but yeah, it's a triangle midfield with Fabian Ruiz, typically the most advanced, but any of them can play in any of those positions. But I think Neves is best at the bottom half, and Vitinha and Ruiz can both interchange at that top or bottom, dependent on who wants to make the runs. If Vitinha finds a pass he likes, he's going to advance the most. If Ruiz finds a goal scoring opportunity, he's obviously going to advance the most. He scored two against Real Madrid, but they can play in a double pivot too and just advance. And you'll see that later in this video again. But yeah, that's everything on the midfield. Three very good players. Vitinha, I think the best of the bunch. Neves, obviously the youngest of the bunch, but a very, very good player at that. And Fabiano Ruiz, I think the best finisher of the bunch. So, that's why I put him at the top of the triangle because obviously you have your front three here, and then you have Fabiano Ruiz, and then you have your double pivot of Vitinha and Neves with Ruiz playing ahead of them. And then, two more players on the right and the left that I will talk about later in this video, which is coming up right now in the defense. The defense consists of a back four We know Hakimi and Nuno Mensch, they love bombing up the pitch. Nuno Mensch actually inverts a little bit. I saw that in the game against Real Madrid. He inverted to allow Kvicha to be on that left touch line, but he can also play on that left touch line as well and provide crosses. But obviously, PSG aren't the best at heading the ball in the back of the net, unless Marquinhos is up there. Hakimi bombs down that right hand side, can also invert, very clinical from that right back spot. And Nuno Mendes is also very clinical from that left back spot. Two of the best finishers on PSG, in my opinion. They just happen to, play defense. It's kind of like a Cucurella Reece James situation where they're both great finishers, but they're also great at defending. Two of the best players in the world, and they have them at the flanks. So it's very hard for Chelsea to pretty much break PSG down, but I think it is possible. Because I don't rate Beraldo that much, I don't rate Marquinhos that much, but I do understand that Marquinhos is a very important leader for them. Um, but yeah, Hakimi and Nuno Mensch pretty much provide width and bomb up the pitch, and you can see João Neves or Vitinha pretty much drop back into a back three and facilitate and be kind of like a ball playing defender from that position, forming a back three with Beraldo going to the left center back, um, Marquinhos either playing at that center half or right center half position, and then one of the midfielders dropping back to be the center or right center half because obviously Marquinhos isn't the fastest in the world. But that's how the defense operates. It's Hakimi and Nuno Mendes being very attack minded, Beraldo, Marquinhos being very defense minded. Um, and yeah, allowing Nuno Mendes and Hakimi the ability to bomb up the pitch and help the attack, in which they do successfully pretty much every game. If you see Hakimi's Champions League run, you'll understand how vital that those fullbacks are to that system. It's kind of like a Thomas Tuchel, just not a back five with the way the fullbacks are influencing the game, bombing up the pitch. Obviously, it kind of forms a back five in possession, which I will get to later in this video. But again, you know how Tommy T, he had Chilwell, he had Reece James just bombing up the pitch, scoring goals for us. That's pretty much what Nuno mentioned. Kimi do for them, and they really excel on those roles. So, credit to Luis Enrique for setting them up. Um, but moving on, it begs the question of how does Chelsea beat PSG? Um, and I came up with my own 4-3-3. Obviously, this is just on paper. This is not in possession. But this is how I think we should line up to beat PSG. I think Palmer, João Pedro, Neto to be our front three. Caicedo, Fernandez, and Lavia hopefully trains this week. I think we really need him for this game to play in those three spots. I went Cucurella, Colwill, Chalaba, and Reece James as the back four. And then Robert Sanchez as the goalkeeper, obviously. The only controversial one, obviously, Lavia is a little controversial just due to fitness, but I think if everyone knows he's fit, he should play um, in that midfield because I do think we need the entire midfield three with Reece James as well. The only controversial one I think is Trevor Chalaba. Obviously, we have Towson. We don't have Wesley Fofana, who would have been perfect for the fixture due to his pace. But I was just thinking the right, or I guess Kavicha on that left, has some of the most amount of pace in the world. So, oh, excuse me, I'm recording this at 1 in the morning. So, who's our paciest center half? I think that's probably Trev over Towson. Maybe Mamadou Sarr, but I doubt Maresca gives him that. Or Anselmino, which I doubt Maresca gives him that too. Um, so yeah, I thought who's faster between Trev and Towson, and I decided that Trev was, so that's why he's there. Obviously, you could see Reece James tuck in. Um, and then allow Colwell to play left center back, and then you can put Towson at the center half, which is a very viable option too. But I think in this game we actually just need to rely on pace and disrupting the game, and I think Trevor Chalaba is better at that than Towson, so that's why I went with him. And that is the 4-3-3 that I expect us to go with this weekend, which hopefully Lavia is fit for. But how does this look in possession? We have João Pedro Neto playing pretty much as a two striker. Obviously, João Pedro can play the left wing, Pedro Neto can play the right wing. So basically, playing the left wing and the right wing, but instead as a left striker and a right striker who are just playing at the wing, like basically playing an inverted winger position up top. And then you have Cucurella bombing up the pitch to form a front three, or I mean, second three of Cucurella, Palmer, and Fernandez. And then you have Caicedo and Lavia in behind. Obviously, you could see Palmer in this right pocket if you really want. Or you could see, you know, one lone striker Up top, Neto dropping back here to make a front four. You have Palmer on this left pocket, Fernandez on that right pocket, Cucurella basically playing left winger with João Pedro being the lone nine, which is also something that you could see Maresca do, but I just went with this because I know Neto's going to be bombing up that wing and hopefully exposing them when Nuno Mendes is bombing up the pitch. Um, yeah, and then you have your Caicedo and Lavia right here in your back three of Colwell, Chalobah, and Reece James. So what I thought here was suffocating the midfield, putting five players in that midfield. Cucurella, who can obviously win a ball, he can play right here if you want. If you want Palmer Fernandez to or like a 3-3-2-2. If that makes sense, you put Palmer here, you put Fernandez here, you put Cucurella here, Caicedo here, and Lavia here. Or obviously interchange him however you want, as long as Cucurella just stays here so he can get back to his position at left back in defense. But yeah, you could have a three-man midfield right here and a two-man midfield up here. As long as you have five committed in the midfield this game, I think it should be a successful formula. Because I think if we win the midfield battle, we have a good chance of winning this game, which is very difficult against PSG. They have one of the best midfields in the world. But at the same time, we do too, especially if Lavia's fit. If not, you could see Reece James playing the midfield and Malo Gusto play at right back. That's also an option, which, you know, excuse me. Um, I would say that I'm not in favor of, but the way he played last game, if he plays like that against PSG, he does have the pace to, excel. Um, and I think that could be a viable option if you don't want Reece James basically cooking his hamstrings against PSG. You could play him in the midfield and allow Malo Gusto to fly around the pitch. I wouldn't be opposed to that actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, this is how I set Chelsea up in position or in possession, excuse me, with a 3-2-3-2. Um, so yeah, let's move on to the question being, how does this counter PSG? Um, and this is the lineups next to each other. Oh, excuse me. Uh, I'm gonna pause this recording for a sec because I do not know where the Chelsea lineup went. So I will go get that and I will be back in a sec. Alright, I don't know why it wasn't showing up, but we are back. These are the lineups side to side now, not just a black screen with the Chelsea logo at the top. Um, you can see here what PSG likes to do in possession. I put John Evans as a player dropping back. You can see Vitinha do it, but they form a double pivot. You can see the back five that I was talking about with Neves basically becoming a new center half. I put Marquinhos in the right center back, but you could easily see these interchange. Yeah, PSG dominate possession, so you can see this line being very high. And John Neves basically being a third midfielder, but also a third center half with the way they play. You can see Beraldo here, Neves basically here, Marquinhos here, and then Ruiz here, Vitinha here, and these players bombing on the wings with these players inverting. Um, yeah, you can see what they try to do with this three at the back system in possession, which I think is very successful. Credit to Luis Enrique again. Been a fantastic manager for them. But this is what they attempt to do in possession. So how do you stop it if you're Chelsea? Obviously, this is us in possession. You basically commit um, Cucurella and Fernandez to defensive roles that advanced on the pitch. Um, you pretty much have Cucurella follow a Hakimi on that right hand side, and Colwell basically take care of Desiree Doué. And then you have Fernandez basically try, or Lavia if you want. You could put Lavia here and Fernandez in this pivot because Lavia is also, a lot better as a defensive minded player. You could put him here and, have him track down Nuno Mensch. But I like Enzo Fernandez's work rate a lot. And that's why I think Neto can play in this pocket and make this, four to allow Cucurella to, be a little wider to stop Hakimi, who bombs up the pitch. So when Hakimi's like this, Cucurella could be here and coming like this. And then when Nuno Mendes is coming up here, you could have Neto right here with Fernandez and Palmer obviously shifting to the left. Moving down and tracking back, which he excels in as a right back, or right winger, excuse me. So yeah, you can see that. Um, and I think Ruiz, Vitinha, Caicedo, Lavia is a very interesting midfield battle. But as you can see, the outlier here is that Chelsea bombard the middle of the pitch. You have obviously you have João Pedro here, excuse me. You have Neto here, and then you have Palmer here, who's pretty much marked by nobody. If you have Fernandez and Cucurella or any combination of a front five kind of situation. Obviously, PSG pretty much play with a front seven. Um, Nuno Mendes and Hakimi are typically more advanced than this, so you can very well see a front seven from PSG and only three in defense. Um, but yeah, I expect Chelsea to play five in defense, five in attack. Um, and obviously you have your two kind of striker wingers here, and then you have your three across here. Which basically forces Hakimi or Mendes to one of them to stay back and not bomb up the pitch, because you're constantly getting attacked by João Pedro who can cut in on his right, Pedro Neto who can cut in on his left, Fernandez who can play balls across anywhere on the pitch, as well as Palmer, and then Cucurella who's actually a very good finisher. Um, so yeah, that's why I have Chelsea lining up that way, because again, you see Cucurella here, which means Hakimi has to be occupied with him, and Cucurella can also defend there. You can see Neto here, which means Mendes has to defend, but also means Neto can track back here. So that means you have Fernandez, Neto, and João Pedro, or no, yeah, Fernandez, Palmer, and João Pedro. As the three playing against this three, and I'm sorry, I back Cole Palmer against the John Neves. I back João Pedro against a Marquinhos, and I don't rate Beraldo at all. But Enzo isn't really the most attacking. But I expect him to be able to box crash against the Beraldo or any of this back three. And I expect João Pedro to actually score in this game. Um, in attack for PSG, you can see Hakimi bomb up the pitch. We already know Cucurella can, track back and defend that with Neto defending this. You have Caicedo and Lavia pretty much locking up these two. And then you have a back three battle, which is very interesting, of James, Chalaba, and Colwill. So I expect, you know, Chelsea to also play in a back five, with Cucurella being right here and Neto being right here. Obviously, João Pedro moving there, and these two being the two advanced midfielders. Instead of a front three, we have a triangle at the top of the pitch. Um, but yeah, I do think that's the way to set up against PSG. I think you got to bombard the midfield, and I think you really got to get numbers back in defense when you can. And I think Cucurella and Neto definitely have the capabilities of doing that for us. So, that's why I have them starting in this game, due to their work rate, due to their effort. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the recipe to beat PSG, in my opinion, is bombarding the midfield and getting your wingers that are in possession back in attack to form a back five to uh, hinder what Mendes and Hakimi can do. So yeah, that is pretty much everything. That is the recipe to beat PSG on Sunday for Chelsea. Very intricate, very thought through video that took me all day to pretty much set up and record. It was a tremendous amount of work. So if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, because yeah, it's 1 a.m. I started this. I made the news video and then I started this video right after. Um, so yeah, if you did enjoy this video, again, please be sure to like and subscribe. I did make a Discord channel. I'm gonna link that down in the description if you do want to join the Discord. I talk all things Chelsea there, as well as NFL if anyone of you are interested in the NFL. So yeah, join that if you'd like. It's pretty much around what my YouTube content is or what my interests in my everyday life are. So yeah, just come in there, have a fun chat. And that's my Discord. Obviously, Twitter will be in the description as well. Um, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, sorry for my words. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Peace.